Welcome to Film Jury, where movies stand trial and the verdict is always final. In every episode, our roundtable of film fanatics becomes the jury, dissecting the visuals, the sound, the storytelling, and the performances as they examine every element that makes or breaks a movie, because every film deserves its verdict. Warning, this podcast does contain strong language and major spoilers are ahead. Court is now in session. Welcome to the Film Jury Podcast. In today's episode, we are going to be diving into Anna and the Apocalypse. I'm the host who just needs to break away, James Patrick.
And I'm your unable to dance dancing music queen, Heidi.
And I'm the guy in the stage production that's just dressed up as the tree going like this, Kristina.
So, fascinating film. I would say that out of any of the films we've done, and this is, I don't know when this is airing in regards to how many episodes we've recorded. This is probably the 12th film that we've put on our schedule. The most anticipated from all the jurors in our juror pool, and the one that when this got full, I got so many messages from other jurors of the show being like, I am so bummed out I couldn't get on that episode. They're like, I really wanted to talk about this movie. So I'm excited to kind of unpack this, but I had seen this before, and my first interaction with this film was circa 2020. We had a lot of free time on our hands, and I came across this movie on streaming. And what I do with most movies on streaming is I say, well, I'll give it 5 minutes. And the next thing I knew, I had watched it 3 times in a row and started telling people about it. So this was my first time seeing it since 2020. So it's been 5 years. And was excited to kind of dive into this because it is such a unique play on multiple genres. I'm curious, Heidi, what was like, this was your first time seeing it, I think you said?
Correct. I'd never even heard of it. So when you told me about it, I looked it up and was very excited. I love musicals of all kinds, and I love horror films, so it's perfect.
What about you, Kristina?
I was one of the people you told about the movie.
Okay. So you were one of the ones that I couldn't stop raving about this movie too.
And I was very excited because it's just seemed like such a fun, campy thing and just right up my alley.
So we'll go through a quick plot summary. Anna and the Apocalypse. It's a 2017 British Christmas musical zombie film. And already that is just such a mouthful. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is kind of like Shaun of the Dead meets High School Musical, or Shaun of the Dead meets La La Land. And then sure enough, on the poster, they even call it out, Shaun of the Dead meets La La Land. It's directed by John McPhail, screenplay by McDonald and Ryan McHenry, based on McHenry's 2010 BAFTA-nominated short called Zombie Musical. It has an ensemble cast of mostly unknown young talents, including Ella Hunt, Malcolm Cumming, Sarah Swire, Christopher Leveaux, Marli Siu, Ben Wiggins, with Mark Benton and Paul K. It premiered at Fantastic Fest in 2017, was released in the United Kingdom by Vertigo, and then was released in the United States by Orion Pictures, which Orion Pictures is a nice, any fan of horror that deep dives is going to understand Orion's role in the horror and the sci-fi genre. It wasn't released in the US until after a full year later. So it was released in the UK in September 2017, released in the US November 2018. So let's go through kind of like a scene by scene breakdown. We open up with our main character, Anna, who's played by Ella Hunt. And we're doing this introduction of who her character is through she's visiting her mother's grave. We're setting some emotional foundation. This interaction she has with her father, where she wants to go into a gap year, and obviously that's something her father doesn't agree with. So already we're starting to see a lot about this character. I'm curious, like, we don't hit a song right away. We're a few minutes into the movie before we hit a song. Tonally, where are you at with this film, like in the opening scenes, like as we meet Anna and we meet her father's character? What are your thoughts? We'll start with you, Heidi.
The funny thing is, the first thing I wrote down is the fact that they're not wearing any seatbelts in the back of the car. That was the first thing I noticed. I was like, okay,
opaque. Is that a UK thing?
Right? I don't know. Like, she just like leans forward, like doesn't have to unstrap or anything to like hit the radio. I'm like, okay. I don't know. And just that immediate, like in the car moment, I already liked the father figure. Like the way he just slams on the brakes. I don't know. I was like, okay, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean, they lean into tonally, this is not going to be your type A horror film, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what about you, Kristina?
Yeah, like the opening scenes, it feels more like a coming of age movie than it does a horror movie. Like the only hint you get is the radio broadcast where they're talking about like a disease that's spreading. And of course, Anna turns it off before you get to hear more about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a few notes like that where, or in the first act of the film, we see stuff happening in the background that she is wildly oblivious to. And to me, I took that as an homage to Shaun of the Dead, where, you know, the lead character is going to work and there's, I mean, he just is completely unaware of the apocalypse that has, you know, befallen his entire country. You know, obviously they're paying homage to that, but we just have more of it leading in, the radio broadcast, people coughing behind her, a line of people at the nurse's office. Like they're signaling stuff happening before we see. I think the first zombie was like, I don't know what it was, like a school crossing guard or something like that was the first actual zombie we saw. She bumps into someone outside of her school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know if he was a school crossing guard, but he was like headed towards the school in the parking lot.
Got it. And right away we go from Anna to a kind of like a rapid fire introduction of all the other characters. To me, I'm thinking this feels like Love Actually, where we have all these subplots of all these different individuals that are going to tie together at some point. They tie together much faster than Love Actually, where they don't bring it together until the third act. And maybe that's just my Westerner view of any time people have British accents. I'm like, oh, just like that other British movie, because I don't have that many in my catalog.
I think it takes place in Scotland, right?
No, this is UK, isn't it?
I thought I read it took place in Scotland.
Let's find it. I thought this was UK. You're right. This takes place in Scotland.
I totally missed that, Kristina. I did not catch on to that.
Well, no, Scotland is UK.
Well, yeah, but like...
Yeah, but I was thinking London. To be clear, I was thinking London. Okay, well, I stand wildly corrected and wildly culturally ignorant. Nonetheless, we meet all of the cast of characters. We meet John, who's the best friend that's hopelessly in love with Anna. We meet Steph, who's the socially isolated outsider. We meet Chris and Lisa, who's the hyper creative, lovey-dovey couple. And then we meet Savage, the headmaster. Have you ever seen him in anything else?
I know he's been in a lot of other things.
Yeah,
like,
I think
he was even in Game of Thrones. Yeah,
he was.
It's played by Paul Kaye, and I know him. where do I know Paul Kaye from? I know him. I mean, he's been in a lot of stuff. Game of Thrones. What is the show I know him from? He plays a therapist in the show I've seen him in, and I can't find. Found it. He plays a therapist in the show Afterlife, which is that show from Ricky Gervais that's on Netflix. Ricky Gervais's brother-in-law slash boss, I believe, is going to therapy, and Paul Kaye plays his therapist, but like the worst therapist you can imagine. And he just has such a, even in this role of Savage, he has such a immensely dry delivery of everything. And his humor, I think, is really subversive, which I think is fun. So I was excited when I saw him in this because, I loved his character in Afterlife.
Yeah, he really plays the character. Like, he doesn't play the character as funny. He plays the character as overly serious, which makes it funny.
Yep. So then we hit our first musical number, and it's Breakaway. And okay, so now all of a sudden, like, we're kind of bending so many genres together. We were a little bit of coming of age. We understand it's a horror film going into it. There's a comedy element to it, and if you didn't know, by the way, we're going to be singing in this. So I think a lot hinges on this first song, because if it doesn't land, you're in for a long film ahead that you're not really going to enjoy. And I think a lot of pressure gets put on this song. Where are you guys at? How did Breakaway hit? And did it hit well in this?
It hit hard and well. I was in. I was sucked in, done, ready to go. Already knew I was going to watch it again.
What about you, Kristina?
Absolutely the same. Like, like, it's a good song, a catchy song. I like that it hits like a few of the different characters. Like, it had good harmonies. I don't know how many of these actors are professional singers, but like, they did a good job.
Yeah, I would agree. Either you're going to know once they hit the first line in this song, you're in or you're out. And I think for me, I'm in. My only critique of it, and this is really splitting hairs because that's what we're doing, is like, obviously they're dubbing their vocals over. They're singing this in a studio, and then they're dubbing it over the film. So often in the movie, the dubs aren't great. Meaning that their mouths aren't syncing up to the lyrics of the song as well as they could be. And I don't think that is, really any massive fault to anyone other than this. They just seem like a relatively newer cast of characters, like not a ton of experience, but in particular, like, that's really difficult. Like, I imagine that's really difficult. It didn't pull me out of the movie completely, but it is something I notice. I'm like, okay, fine. And that's looking for something to hate. But we hit with Breakaway, and not long after that, we kind of hit another song right after that, which was Hollywood Ending. And I think they had these two songs so close together intentionally to keep that momentum going, because I think you set the precedent with Breakaway, but you don't want to kind of lose that momentum. So it wasn't terribly long. I mean, maybe just a few minutes before all of a sudden they hit Hollywood Ending in where they're in the cafeteria. And this is where this all of a sudden starts to feel like High School Musical or Glee, right? That's kind of the vibe I'm getting.
Very much Glee vibes throughout the whole thing. But yeah, starting in the cafeteria was perfect for that.
And this one had a lot more choreography than the previous one, where the previous one was longer still shots, face shots. Like this showed a lot more movement with it, which was awesome.
Yeah, because in Breakaway, it's just the core characters who are kind of singing, and it almost is in their singing in their within their minds, and the world
Mhm.
is happening around them. But in Hollywood Ending, we kind of break the wall a little bit, where now everyone in the cafeteria, even people who aren't main characters, are getting involved in this. But here's why I think I really like these songs, and particularly Hollywood Ending a little more than Breakaway. I mean, Breakaway introduces what I feel is like character motivations.
Right. It's the I
Um,
Want song.
what's that?
It's the I Want song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the main character, she wants, to have control of her own life. She still feels
Mhm.
controlled by her parents. But Hollywood Ending, the reason I like Hollywood Ending is the filmmakers are telling us this movie's not going to end well. By all these characters singing this, the filmmakers are saying this movie's not going to end well. Like this is not going to be a happy ending. People are going to be like, trauma is forthcoming. This is not
Yeah.
going to end the way that you want it to end, or that you think it's going to end. And I thought that was so. The song was written so well and delivered so well, and the fact that they had the percussion of like the feet stomping, and they're slamming their fists on the tables, like it added to that energy behind it, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, it did come across really well, and I didn't notice it or write it down particularly, but you're right, the way that they used the stomping as part of kind of the music.
Mm-hmm. In between all this, we then kind of get introduced to they start to unpack a little bit more of some of the other characters. Once again, if I'm trying to find stuff about this movie that I want to pick apart, some of the characters are going to be some of those things. There are characters I really, really like and I think are integral to this. And then there are characters who I feel are unnecessary and kind of clog up the storyline a little bit. And the ones I'll use for that are Chris and Lisa. I don't really think they add anything that I'm not getting from John, that I'm not getting from Anna, that I'm not getting from Steph, especially, and then Savage as the antagonist. Like, I feel like that group is strong enough that I don't need Chris and Lisa.
I would disagree.
I disagree.
Yeah. Like you have the song like Hollywood Ending, and they're the hopeful ones. Like they're the ones who are dreaming of the Hollywood ending. And I think that it like that song kind of sets up what happens to them later.
Yeah, and those two, they're separated for so much of the movie, and then they get back together, and even, we'll get there, but towards the end, it still kind of happens in a weird way.
It adds a driving force for the characters too.
Yeah. I feel like they're tonally, I feel like they're an extension of John's character. And that's just my take on it. I feel like you could have homogenized Chris and Lisa into John's character, given John's character a little bit more depth, and it would have made for a tighter film. And that's just, once again, I'm not trying to bring the film down. I really am enjoying this movie. I'm just saying, if I had to choose something that I wasn't a fan of, it's how many characters I'm having to track, and particularly those two characters I just feel are just a little too much.
That's fair. It's a fair assessment. I disagree, but it's a fair assessment.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like without Lisa, we would miss out on the entire like Christmas play.
Yeah, the school side of things.
Like that would never be a thing then, and so we'd miss some of the other things that occur.
But you could, once again, like, you could have had John do that. Like he was really into the Christmas spirit, because that's another thing, is like this takes place around Christmas, so we have a holiday theme as well to this, and he's wearing that Christmas sweater the whole time. You could have had him play into that, and I don't think it's neither here nor there. It's just, if I were to find something that I found extemporaneous or too much about this movie, would just be, we have too many characters, and we could have tightened it up. We could have had John have a lot more depth. We could have had John be the real creative one, who is also dreaming of this Hollywood ending, because he wants, this life with Anna that he's not going to have. So we can have a lot more there, I think.
I do wonder if maybe they were the same character, like John and Chris, because John is also going to art school and Chris is becoming a filmographer.
We have a little bit of repetition here, and I'm just curious. I don't know. I'd have to look up to see what was part of the original script, to see if they just added more because they needed more runtime. I'm not sure. Excuse me. But right after that, then we really get introduced to Savage, and more what his like anti-motivations are, who he's going to become. Like, they're telegraphing right away who he's going to be as the antagonist in this, kind of parallel to the zombie threat, as he's kind of having this power struggle, or, kind of like abusive connection with the Steph character. And I love how this actor played the Savage character. I mean, yeah, they're telling us he's going to be the antagonist with the name. Like, they're not hiding anything.
Yeah. All the protagonists have Christmas themed names, and then his name is Savage.
Yep. Yep. And here's one of the things I like about this, and this goes back to the original, the OG zombie film, George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, which is, who are the actual antagonists? And if you pick apart that movie, the zombies, whilst a threat, are not the ultimate antagonists of the film. It was mankind's inability to unify. Cultural racism is wildly prevalent in that original film. Here we're once again saying, yeah, the zombies are a threat. The zombies are the world, adulthood, consequences, parental control. But Savage is the actual danger. He's the actual threat. He's the actual person that is aiming to cause harm maliciously. And I think that's an interesting addition to this. So from there, we see the Christmas show. Lisa has her song. This is the one song I wasn't into. Not doing it for me. But this is like, once again, it's like, I'm not into this character. But I don't know, like, are you two like really into the Christmas performance?
I mean, I think it was supposed to be awkward on purpose. And I think it's it's there to show that Chris wasn't there, and we don't know what happened to Chris because he promised he'd be there, and he does seem like the type of person who would be there, absolutely would fulfill his promises. So it's an inkling that something's wrong.
Yeah, and it was a fun performance, and I loved how the I'm gonna call him the headmaster. The one that's retiring has this big button, and he's all just like happy as a clam, and Savage is losing his marbles upstairs, and I'm just laughing at the whole thing. It was hard to pay attention to. I had to pause it and rewind because like everything going on stage.
Mm-hmm.
I did like how like half the audience are like covering the children's eyes, and the other half are like getting really into it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a mixed bag of the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So now we come into what I feel is my favorite part of the film, which is Anna's like oblivious, ironic number turning my life around.
Mm-hmm.
I love this. Like, I mean, we talked about the homages to Shaun of the Dead. This is a
This is it.
complete,
Absolutely.
in a nutshell, this is Shaun of the Dead. But it's just so funny. She's singing about empowerment and taking control, and yet, she's dancing through an apocalypse.
Yep. And
Oblivion.
if she'd only turn around, she'd see it.
Right.
Kind of blissfully unaware. I mean, optimism versus reality, denial versus chaos. Like, I mean, there's a lot of themes that they're kind of playing with here. And then they come with the snowman zombie attack. Now we're bringing in body horror into this as well, and I'm so glad because they do it so effectively. It's the right amount of blood gushing. It's the right amount of gore. And their responses, like their reactions, especially John's reaction to everything that is gory, I think is just wildly entertaining and hilarious. But the fact that it's a snowman, I think, is just visual gold. How they have to kill a snowman, essentially, like kill Christmas.
Yes, I agree. That was hilarious and unexpected.
Yep. I mean, throughout the entire lead up to that and that scene, I'm like, thank God these zombies are slow.
Right. I did notice that. They're not running after you.
And them just sitting on the playground while the head's still there, trying to gnaw at them.
Oh my God. From there, we go to the bowling alley. And we have a bit of time at the bowling alley, maybe too much time at the bowling alley. It takes a while for things to kind of we just sit in act 2 for a bit. This is one of the only parts of the movie where I'm just I'm noticing the time a little bit more. Is okay, we've been here for a while. I think we need something. We're still a little bit away from the next musical number. I need something to happen. It eventually does happen where the zombies get into the bowling alley and we have another funny melee, more of like a bedlam where everyone's going at him. This, once again, an homage to Shaun of the Dead, the kind of the end scene from the bar of Shaun of the Dead. That's the vibes we're getting here. And this is where they come across, and I unfortunately did not write down his name. One of the school bullies. Or, he portrayed as the popular kid who then comes
Nick.
to Nick. Yeah. Okay. Comes to their rescue, and then he gets his number, Soldier at War, which I love. I think, one, I mean, obviously we're playing on this idea of youth being thrust into adulthood, youth being thrust into violence, and what happens when they do come across that. And some people, like John, will defend themselves, but do so while screaming, with the highest pitches. And then you have, this other person who embodies and justifies who he wanted to be, the mayhem he wants to
revels in it.
Yes.
Seemingly, yeah.
And I love his two shadows. These two guys that are hanging out with him who clearly are just trying to keep up. When he goes into his musical number, in the background, they just try to get in line behind him so that they can be in the musical number with him, but they do so awkwardly and with such hesitation. It's just little things like that I just think are so good in how they piece this movie together.
Yeah, these characters felt like teenagers that were trying to hit their mark, right?
Yeah,
try to be in the gang.
Yeah, Nick's the main guy, and then there's just the lackeys trying to be cool, like Nick.
So then the movie is going to take a turn, and this is as we're entering into Act 3. And I'll be honest, I didn't see this coming when I first watched this movie, and I will applaud the filmmakers and the writers for having the wherewithal to do this, because it would have been so easy to leave it just at this. And to, this is fun. We have this rambunctious cast of characters, and they're going through a zombie apocalypse. They could have just ended it like that. They didn't have to go and actually take this seriously. They didn't have to have John get bit. They didn't have to, have the emotional stakes with Chris and Lisa's characters get amplified so much. None of that was required. Okay. But they did it anyway. And then they bring in that musical number, Human Voiced, and this is kind of a crest. This is that transitional point between Act 2 and Act 3 where we're saying that, you know what, these aren't kids anymore. We've thrust them into reality, and they have to kind of deal with that. And I just kind of like the maturity of being willing to do that in what, one could just look at it and just say, this is just a fun, happy-go-lucky, Shaun of the Dead homage musical with zombies. But they decide to have some depth there. And I'm curious, like, we'll start with you, Heidi, like, with their take and their intention of taking this into a more serious realm, how does this fit in the overall viewing of this movie?
I think it does fit because, again, like Kristina said, it's that coming of age, and this is the turning point where they're realizing they have to grow up a little bit. They're, Anna doesn't want to. She's still resisting, unlike Nick, who's just rolling with it and like having way too much fun possibly. But it kind of shows like how each character is developing into a more adult character as they would, it's what their senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. So that's when things happen. So I enjoyed that. I think that was fine to have them to see them grow a little bit.
Kristina?
Yeah, this is the first main character death that we experience, and it's powerful. And I do like how this entire scene kind of illustrates the differences between Chris and between Nick, because you have Nick who's like, hey, let's go through like the tree shop, the dark spooky tree shop, because that's the fun way to go. The more dangerous, but the fun way. Whereas Chris, once he gets bit and they're surrounded by zombies, like he uses himself as a shield to pull Anna through instead of like pushing Anna into danger. And I like that, the differences between those two characters that they show in this scene.
Yeah, the pulling motion I really liked, and that was unexpected. I don't think that's how I would react in that situation, so it made it interesting and fun.
Yeah.
So we kind of racing towards this conclusion. Before I don't want to overshadow it, but we have, Chris and Lisa's reunion, their embrace, and then, immediately being overrun. And I feel like this is intense. It's one of the movie's cruelest moments next to John's demise. And I think this is that callback to that Hollywood ending song. And I think it's such a powerful way to close that loop. And then we go kind of right into this final confrontation between Anna and the real antagonist, which is Savage. And whilst having the gravity of this being an emotional moment, they still have such a fun balance of her kicking ass with a giant pointed candy cane. I think that's awesome. Like, where she's great. Like, it's so good. Where she's having like a verbal backlashing with Savage, and she pauses just to, poke a zombie in the head with her pointed candy cane before. And what a great balance! What a great balance between horror, gore, drama.
And
But
that nice
hey, we
campiness.
haven't forgotten. Like we still wanna make you chuckle.
I did several times through the movie wonder what that thing was made of. Like it has to be plastic.
Exactly.
She's wielding it like plastic, but she's stabbing things through the head with it. How is that thing not dented or broken? Like
I was wondering. It's I picture like a titanium baseball bat, but painted. Because I was wondering the same thing. Because my first thought was it looks like it's glass. Obviously, that's not the case.
yeah.
And why does it already have? I mean, I guess the stake is to shove it in the ground in your front yard, but it's got to be light enough for her to like wield it the way that she does.
And she does wield it very lightly. So I assume plastic. It's the magic miracle of Christmas. That's what keeps it.
Yeah, I wouldn't overthink that one.
Well, clearly we did.
Mm-hmm. That's our criticism for the movie. Need more realistic candy cane weapons.
What would be a better Christmas weapon?
Like you could still have a candy cane, but like maybe one that's not so bulky, but like smaller and like clearly metal.
I mean, they could have had an outfitting scene, like in every action movie where they lay out all the gear and then they suit up, right? But, it's just regular candy canes that are, sucked to such a sharp point. I mean, who amongst us has not made their mouth bleed because they made the candy cane too sharp
and accidentally stabbed herself? Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot that could have been done with that. But we have the final confrontation with Savage, and obviously, I mean, she's not going to overcome him, but in the process, loses dad. So we're just going to hit another emotional chord here, as we kind of wrap into the film. So, I mean, that's kind of the cost of her survival was the father, and another kind of like emotional hit. So we kind of like, they kind of drive away at the end. She's with Nick and she's with Steph. And it's not so triumphant. It kind of ends on that down note where they survived, and that's kind of where they're at, and they are different. And I think that was interesting.
I do also like that they replay the song Hollywood Ending.
Yep.
And then Steph asks the line, "Where to now?" which is arguably a very Hollywood ending.
Yeah, and then it ends, and you're like, wait, what? That's it? Come back. Where are they going?
I feel like this kind of fulfills what the film's intention was, which is this wasn't about achieving a victory. This was just about survival as they now enter into a new and uncertain chapter, which they were going to anyway upon graduation, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a handful of themes that they kind of played throughout this. There was this idea of, well, I mean, on its surface, like the irony of holiday, Christmas cheer versus like they're dealing with these existential crises of, they're graduating and they're entering into adulthood. I think another interesting one was the absolute abysmal failure of authority throughout it. At every point, an adult was wrong and was trying to guide them in the wrong direction, from, you could say the government cover-up of the zombie outbreak, Anna's overbearing father, the power-hungry school headmaster.
How quickly the army fell. Like,
yeah. So I feel like they would have undone a lot of this had it ended on a bright, cheery note. I feel like they set it up for it to end on a bit of a downer.
I'd say that there was a little bit of hope because they did survive. They did make it through. I mean, you do have this very upbeat song that's playing, but of course, it is tinged with a lot of bitterness.
Mm-hmm. One other thing I noticed, which I forgot to mention at the beginning, they open with the animation of Santa, right? Trying to escape from all the cartoon zombies. Just by sheer chance, I put on National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation right after watching this because I was just like, oh, I'll just go into another Christmas film. Almost identical opening animation.
That's funny.
Minus the zombies, but like
Yeah.
animation style almost
Mm-hmm.
to a T the same. And I thought, oh, we have another homage here. Like we're playing on National Lampoons, which I thought was funny. So now we have a new judging system. We're no longer doing a point scale. We're doing a guilty or not guilty verdict. But before we give our verdicts, we get to do final deliberation. So we'll start with you, Heidi. Give us your final deliberation on Anna and the Apocalypse.
Well, I think it is my new favorite movie, and it is going into the Christmas repertoire. I didn't say that right. Anyway, I loved it. I was shocked. I mean, I can't believe that I had never heard of it until it showed up on the spreadsheet. And you said, James, I think you were the one that said you'd like this. I was like, all right, I'm in. I mean, I made you change the date of the watch party for me. Because I was going to watch it anyway at this point, but I really wanted to be part of this on top of that. So, I mean, for me, definitely not guilty.
Okay, Kristina.
Guilty pleasure, maybe, but not.
Yeah.
I loved this film. I think it was amazing. I like it. It is a coming of age film with how you see these characters grow and mature. Like even like Chris, who dies tragically. Like he's the teacher calls him out on his project for like not showing who he is, but like he does show who he is. Like when he his maturity when he reunites with Lisa and finds out that his grandmother passed. Like he's very respectful about it, very understanding, very calm, but still like feels it, right? It's just so fun and campy. Like you have the character Steph, who is so awkward in the beginning, but at the end she's like, boom, saved your life. She's my favorite character.
Like, for sure. Steph
every scene with her was perfect. And just like, I know we didn't mention it, but Savage's musical number was just so over the top.
Oh, at
crazy.
the end. Yeah.
And you could see his hair just like getting crazier and crazier as he gets crazier and crazier. And it was wonderful.
Like, just so well done. And I understand that it was a lower budget film, but like everything came together so well, and I love it. So yeah, not guilty for me.
As I kind of said at the top of this, every now and then I come across a movie and I give it just a few minutes of streaming before I decide whether or not I want to keep watching it or if I want to turn it off. And I fell in love with this movie. I think it is like, and I understand that there was a lot I was like trying to pick apart with it, but that's purely out of the spirit of what this show is, which is to deliberate on the movie. I think the directing was spot on. I think the acting for an ensemble cast of relatively unknowns was really, really good. These did not feel like actors. These felt like the characters they were portraying. I think they did a great job with the cinematography. I think the writing of the music was incredibly good. It is hard to imagine just stumbling across a better film, right? You know, like without any previous context. Like obviously this hasn't been a highly marketed movie. It was kind of released under the radar here, and glad I found it. Like, it is a resounding not guilty, and it honestly not just a not guilty. Like, this is a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is a
Yes, it
really
is.
great movie, and I encourage every listener to check it out. There is nothing not to enjoy about this film, even if you're not a big musical person. I would never argue I'm a big musical person. This is an enjoyable, fun movie, and anyone I've introduced this movie to has thanked me for introducing it to them. So this movie is fully acquitted. Like, all charges dropped. They no double jeopardy chances for this movie. Absolutely astounding. Recommending. For listeners, you can get the Film Jury wherever you get your podcast. We're also available on YouTube. We appreciate your 5-star reviews on the Apple Podcast app. For sharing this podcast with a friend, I want to thank both Heidi and Kristina for being a part of this episode, and we will catch you all in the next screening. Take care, everyone.